What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another reaction and breakdown to Echo. This is for the finale, episode 5. I've really enjoyed the show so far. Go check out my other 4 videos on the channel right now if you want to know what I thought about the first 4 episodes of the season. But we're going to be talking a little bit of spoilers for episode 5 and reacting and breaking down this episode. So each episode we've gotten a different generation that has been echoing to Maya since she's come back home to Oklahoma, and now we have caught up to Maya. So this episode's title is episode 5, Maya. So right now we are caught up to Miss Maya Lopez, and we see child Maya in a flashback shooting a slingshot at a bird, and she knocks the bird out, obviously, brings it back to her mother because she's a good shot. Taloa, her mom, is sitting there and goes right away, hey, this bird didn't just fall, did it? You hit it? And she's like, yeah, I didn't think I could, but I was seeing if I could, and I did, but now I want to save it. Can we save it, Mom? And the mom goes like this and goes over the bird and heals the bird, because we heard from Chula, Maya's mom's mother, last episode, that Taloa was a healer. And, and Maya's much more like a killer, so, knowing that there's healing inside of her kind of helps Maya heal in a way, but she still hasn't forgiven herself for what happened to her mom in episode 1, way back when Maya was a kid. So we cut back from Maya's mom healing the bird to cut to the accident, and Maya hears her mom's heartbeat in the car, and she's like trying to heal it, and then we cut to the intro, and it's like, oh. Even like every little before, like it wasn't ever like before the intro. Normally it's like a recap of the previous episode. I believe they had those too, but before this, so like right before the intro, they always had like a little scene of like a flashback that always hit hard as hell, and you were like, what the fuck? And then they cut after the intro to something completely different. So every time you're like, damn, really? But so Chula comes to Scully and asks if he has a sewing machine that she brought in from years ago, or if he has a sewing machine, and he just kind of like turns around and walks away, and she's like, is this how you talk to customers? And he just comes back with the sewing machine, and it's polished and cleaned, and he made it work better. And she's like, what, you never got rid of it? He goes, I never put it up for sale. I figured you'd come back for it. And she's like, how much do I owe you? He's like, nothing. Just, come around some more. Come talk to me. And she kind of like smiles and starts speaking Indian to him. And they both like start chuckling and laughing. But he wasn't at the end of this episode. We'll talk about that later. It kind of makes me sad because between this scene, just to take out of Kingpin and Maya's shit and just step into like this little relationship between Chula and Scully. Graham Greene was awesome this whole series. And Chula was great too. So the two of them together, I really wish that they were together. But from what we've seen through the series, I believe they weren't ever grandpa. I believe he was dating her, and then they're not together anymore since Maya's mother passing all them years ago. So like, I don't think they've been together for a while, but they're still in the same small town. So they bump into each other, but they're just not together. But I would like to see some love happening in a future, reincarnation of Echo or wherever she shows up next. I hope we get to see her family and more of Chula and Scully, because they were awesome. The whole family of Maya's was awesome. So after Chula leaves Scully, she goes back to her job as a post office lady, and she's in a store and she drops mail, and who helps her pick up the mail but fucking Kingpin. And they're talking about a sign language, and he's like, oh yeah, I learned sign language from my niece. She's like, oh, I learned from my granddaughter and my daughter. And she's like, oh, it's Maya. And he's like, oh really? Right? So I find it hard to believe though that Chula doesn't know what the Kingpin looks like. I mean, I get it, they're not from New York, but man, is this guy just a presence, and he's got the scar on the eye, so you're sitting there like, god damn, like, this man looks fucked up. So Maya's at a diner. She looks out the window, sees a bird that Chula was saying. This bird, like, or the same bird that Maya's mom and her were healing at the beginning of the episode. They're saying this bird is sacred to our people, and that when you see this bird, it's like one of those, what are those birds? Woodpeckers? It's like one of those birds that will woodpeck, and you hear the noise in the tree. But this specific bird sends messages and warnings in the tree, and then the bird flies off, and Maya sees it fly off, so she takes off too, knowing something's wrong. So Biscuits is at the line of the powwow that they're setting up, and they've been setting up kind of all season. So there's a powwow going on, and there's parking, and he's running parking, and Zane, the freaking terrible white guy from earlier in the season, pulls up in an RV, and he's like, yeah, you need to go down there. He goes, I'm just gonna go right up here. He goes, no, you gotta go over to the other section. He goes, thank you, I'm just gonna go right here. So he just pulls through, and this Biscuits is just looking at Billy Jack like, hey, I think we'll be okay, right? And we're like, God damn it, that's gonna come back later. And then Biscuits texts Maya saying, hey, Bonnie should have been here hours ago. Have you seen her? And so Maya rushes into Chula's house, gun drawn, and she runs into the room where Chula was working on her outfit, and she sees her mother. Obviously not her mother, but like it's in her head, and she's seeing visions of her mother, and she gets to have like a full conversation with her mom again. Her mom says, you've really been hurting, huh? She heals over Maya's heart, the same way she healed the bird. And they cut to the crash, but now instead of it being the child and the dead mother, it's the mother and older Maya sitting in the same wreck at the car. Mom says, you are not alone. All of us that came before you are a part of you because we echo through you. Echo, right? So all of her ancestors are echoing through her, which I believe all of us called that was going to be how they said, oh, Echo, how did she get her name, right? Like, which is, at least it's her family and like stuff like that is how she got her name, which I like, but it wasn't necessarily not telegraphical, you know what I mean? Like, it was telegraphed. Like, we could see that this was going to happen early, like I almost even knew the line was going to be, generations are echoing through you. And it's like, come on. Like, I thought it could have been a little bit better. I don't necessarily love the glowing hand power, but we'll get to it. So the mom heals over her heart again and goes, now it's time for the pain to go away. She says she doesn't know how, Mom. Mom says, I will help you. Your ancestors will help you. You come from a long line of very special women, all the way from Chafa herself. They have carried the fire to protect their family. Now it's your turn. She says, all she brings is danger, right? Maya's like, all I bring is danger. I have to leave. Mom's like, don't run. Stay. Fight. For us. Remember your gifts. Strategy from Loak. Cunning from Tuklo. Ferocity from Chafa. Love from her mother, Taloa. And right, so now you get to see why we've been seeing these women and why these other women were the titles of the episodes, and what those episodes and what those moments of flashbacks were showing us is that they're a part of Echo and Maya, and she's all infused that in a new outfit. So all of that is infused inside of her, and she gets the new outfit, and we see it. It's pretty badass. I honestly really, really like the outfit that she's got. Maya's mom tells her that she'll love her always, which is very touching because obviously she died in a car accident when she was a little girl. So now, as a grown woman, she gets to have this other conversation with her mother and gets some reassurance that she was loved by her mother, and that her mother, even in a past, in like a spirit life, is not mad at her for this. But Maya's suit is dope. She goes to the powwow. 2 vans with guns with guys pull up. Guys with crossed swords tattooed on their neck. It's like wild. Like, they're all looking for Maya, and Maya blends into the crowd as they're all like walking in, and the bird leads the way, and Henry says, Biscuits, you got any weapons? He's like, I got something even better. There's something coming with these Naholos, white people. Right, so the Naholos, they've been saying that all season 2, which Biscuit comes back later. It's hilarious with what he brought, better than a gun. But Kingpin walks in to Maya once again, has him at gunpoint, but he has Bonnie and Chula. He goes, I offered you everything. How could you betray me like this? And she's like, who betrayed who first? Bonnie translates. Zane is in position just waiting for the signal, but Henry sees him. So then we cut back to Kingpin and Maya's conversation. He's like, you brought this on yourself. She says, they have nothing to do with this. They're in my blood, in my heart. I'm part of them and they're part of me. I'm their legacy, not yours. He goes, good. Now I know how much it will hurt you when I kill the rest of your family. just like I killed your father. So then Zane gets the signal. He's holding like a rocket launcher out of his like cooler on top of his RV. And you're like, oh shit, so he's gonna blow up this party? What the hell's happening here? Then Kingpin says something. We don't quite know what he says because we're from Maya's perspective, and Bonnie doesn't quite sign it, fast enough. So she's kind of like looking at Bonnie like, wait, what did he say? And then a guy hauls off and punches her in the face. And you're like, damn, left hook to poor Maya. Friggin' poor girl. But then she powers up and echoes through the generations and sends her power, her like glowing fist power, to Bonnie and Chula. So now Chula, Bonnie, everyone's powered up. And Bonnie, I don't know if I've mentioned this already, but Bonnie's pretty great, but there feels like there's a story part in the show that was cut out with her character. But the actor of Bonnie here played Kahori in What If Season 2. So I'm hoping that she gets, maybe a little recast, maybe a little, slide in a different direction. She could be the live action Kahori, because that's a badass character, and I can't wait to see it on screen live action. But Maya's suit up, and her suit is really good, and it has like different things that are remnants from like the other ancestors we've seen. But I really like it. It's like all red and cool, and it's very traditional. Like it feels very like something that would be made by her culture, which is cool. It's not just like a leather onesie or whatever. And I don't really love that Maya was just able to send powers to them, but then they all kick some ass. And Biscuits comes flying in with a monster truck, and he's like, not today, Nahalos! Not today! Woo! And he's screaming, and he just rides this, like, what is the post office truck, which is, like, it kind of goes from him in a junkyard to him, like, here. I think there was this whole, like, building montage, Fast and Furious building sequence that we missed in the middle there that they cut out, but Biscuits comes in with Grandma Chula's mail truck, but is now a monster truck, and he rides over the two vans with the guys so they can't get out. We don't know if he kills them, but I'm hoping he did, and he just smushed those guys in the truck instead of just making it so that they couldn't come out of the vans. But Henry sees Zane, and Zane's like aiming his rocket launcher. Henry's like, oh, hold on, let me put on the silencer because there's a group of people around. Even though he's about to shoot a rocket launcher, let me put the silencer on. Like, what? Like, why was that necessary? But either way, Zane, instead of shooting, he like could have just shot. Instead, he goes and looks at Henry and goes, wait, what? And then gets shot in the face. Echo stands there with all of her generations echoing around her, which is great shot of like I don't know if this was added later, or if this was always the plan, but you see her mother, the first one, Chafa, Tuklo, Loak. So you see all the generations standing next to her, and then they all kind of like go into her, and she starts kicking ass. But she then goes and fights Kingpin and hits his heart and his head. So I don't know if she's trying to heal his brain or like over his eye, but she hit his heart too. And it makes him go back to the memory of his father in this white room. And we see the cracked wall, kind of like the white painting that we saw. But it's kind of a different location from the one that we saw in Daredevil's Netflix. The one in Daredevil's Netflix was like a room adjacent to his living room. This seems like it's his bedroom, and it's happening on the other side of the wall. But in the show, we kind of see that his father's making him stare at a wall, and like his father's beating his mother like right there. So this is like slightly different, but still much along the lines of that. And then Maya and Kingpin have this whole conversation in the room in the flashback, and he's like, where are we? Like, what is happening? And he's like, losing it. He's like covering his ears, hearing it happen. And she's like, don't listen anymore. Let go of the pain. Let go of the anger. You are my uncle. Shut out. Shut it out. Like, Kingpin's abusive father. He doesn't forgive himself for killing his father, for beating his mother. So Maya's like trying to help Kingpin in that room, and he's like, losing it, and all of a sudden he flashbacks and like grabs her hand. He's like, what did you do? And she doesn't like answer him, and then the cops show up. We see Kingpin getting away from the cops and like getting out of there early. So then he goes back to like his plane. Then they go back to the pawn, Chula's house, young Maya, her mother, set the bird free, nursed back to good health. The song When We Remain by Samantha Crane, there's a banger in the Choctaw language, I believe, and it's I've been listening to it quite a bit. It's really great. But Maya's riding on her bike, and she comes to family dinner at Chula's house. Biscuits is there, Uncle Henry's there, Bonnie's there, Chula's there, but no Scully. What? Like, come on, we're not going to invite Grandpa Scully? Like, I wanted him there. Then it cuts to the title, Echo. And you know, has a little Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, and you know, gives a little shout out to them and praises them. But then we get post-credit scene of Kingpin on his plane, and he says to his assistant that he wants to meet with all the other heads. We need to stabilize the situation before it spirals out of control. So what heads, what situation, what's spiraling out of control? All that's happening. Then he sees, like, and they don't even really acknowledge that. In every video I've seen, nobody really acknowledges what he said before this. They're only talking about what I'm about to say now. And he sees the TV, unmutes it, and they're talking about New York City's race for mayor. They need a new guy. The candidates they have suck, and they're looking for this new candidate. And who could it be? We need a bare-knuckle brawler of a mayor candidate out here. Somewhere is out. Who's out? Who is it? Who's out there? Who is this candidate? And Kingpin, like, leans in and kind of like, like, I have an idea. So now Kingpin is going to be running for mayor, and where are we going to see that? Probably in Daredevil Born Again. Maybe that will lead to Spider-Man 4 or something, but overall, I really like the show. I like that it had a post-credit scene. I like that it left Echo off in a place where the next time we see her, it could be Echo Season 2, or it could be like her own thing. Like, she could just be out there being a good guy, she could be out there being a bad guy, she could be back with Fisk, she could be in New York, she could be in Oklahoma, she could go to the West Coast, she could do whatever. So wherever they need her next, she can be. But also they kind of left it off like, where is she going to be? Like, we know Kingpin's going to show back up, but this is Echo's show. Like, I want to see more of Maya Lopez and more of Alaqua Cox. I thought she was badass. I want to see more of Biscuits. He needs to be protected at all costs. But I was really into this show. I hope you guys enjoyed it yourselves. I'm now even more excited for Daredevil Born Again after this, so now I'm going to go rewatch Daredevil Netflix show. So maybe I'll do some season breakdowns of that, Season 1, Season 2, Season 3. But comment below, would that be something you guys are interested? Do you want me to break down the Daredevil season next? But I also have some movie reviews coming to the channel, so stay tuned for those. Some interesting first-time watches I did over the weekend, but hey, that is my reactions and breakdowns for Echo Season 1, or just the show 1. I don't know if it's going to be a season or a show, or just it's one limited series release. But I do wish that this wasn't one binge drop. I wish it was 5 weeks and we got to experience this over like a month and a half or whatever, and we got to actually sit and live with the show. I did think the 5 episodes we got were good enough that they could have been week by week shows, but hey, it still was kind of fun to binge it and see the talk online. But I just think a bunch of people didn't have time to binge it all at once on like a Tuesday. So even me, like, it took me till like the weekend to really watch all of it and then like rewatch it a little bit. So I don't know, I hope these videos didn't come too late, but I hope you guys enjoyed them regardless, and please like, subscribe, follow me on my other social medias, Big Cam pretty much everywhere, Big Cam YouTube on Twitter, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next video, and stay tuned for my movie reviews coming this week, and some more exciting stuff that we'll be talking about soon. But really, I cannot wait for Daredevil Born Again. I mean, his suit with the red, and oh, I loved the tone of red that they had in the episode 1 and that fight choreography. Like, it just got me super excited to see him back again. But that whole fight sequence, the suit looked really good. Charlie Cox, always great. I don't know if it was Charlie or a stunt double, but hey, to both of you guys, shout out you. I do kind of like this shade of red a tad better than the Netflix Daredevil red, to be perfectly honest. I think it should be much more the Echo red, and you know, the Netflix suit is great, but the just tone of red isn't quite there for me. And Echo did it. But now I have to go back and maybe watch the whole Defenders verse, because they threw Echo into this Defenders verse. So I don't know what that means, but Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. I've seen, I think, Luke Cage, I've seen The Punisher, and I've seen Daredevil, and I've seen Iron Fist. So I think I need to either finish Luke Cage, if I haven't, watch Jessica Jones, and then I also need to watch the Defenders show. Comment below if I should do that. And if I do, should I talk about it on the channel or just talk about it in like my Monday podcast? But overall, this show between Wilson Fisk, Echo, and Charlie Cox's Daredevil, I think it was great. They did a really great job. And I'm excited to also, they announced that Foggy and Paige from Netflix Daredevil will be coming back for Daredevil Born Again. So I'm hyped about that. They were some of my favorite characters. So we'll talk about more in the future. Comment below if you want to talk more with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.